Hey guys, as you probably saw last time, I decided to get Mary a little present. Now, I was pretty split between whether I should get her a washer and dryer or a dishwasher first, but since our sink was always full of dishes, the dishwasher won out first. Now, we weren't sure whether we wanted to completely replace the island or just try to modify it into this one, but I really don't like the quality of like the RV woodwork. I don't know if some of them use real wood for all of it, but like all the compressed wood is not the greatest. It just kind of feels flimsy. The countertop itself, even like if I push on it, I swear I could feel it sink in a little bit, and I can like see the lights through the resin. We're gonna do it better. But since it'll take a few weeks to source all the materials, I don't want Mary to have to work that whole time. We're gonna hook it up temporarily until then. Hope you enjoy the video. So I'm gonna start by removing this outlet. That'll give me an access hole to run the water line until we can figure out what to do with the island. This way we can still use the dishwasher while we decide. I've noticed most of the boxes I've removed are old work boxes or cut-in boxes. They're usually called old work because they're installed after a wall or something is made or in old work. New work boxes are installed as a wall or counter is made and are usually attached to a stud or structural part. This kind of gives it a little bit of a cheaper feel because any house or anything would be built with new work boxes typically, unless you were to say move your TV and want an outlet somewhere, then you'd use a cut-in box. Cut-in boxes don't offer the same sturdiness as a new work box does, but on the flip side, they are much easier to remove and install.
As an electrician, that's really shoddy with the grounds right there. And they're even cut at a point. So, the grounds being cut to points like that, really bad. Them can like stab through the insulation. That's just a horrible idea. And just really not too impressed the splice cap, just crimping them. I mean, like, probably legal, super sketch. We're gonna trim them off and make them flat at the very least. Probably just nip them all the way down.
The wiring they used was pretty good wiring. They used Romex Simple 14 gauge. I would have liked to have seen 12 gauge in there. The 12 gauge would have allowed them to use 20 amp circuits, but since they're only 14 gauge, it's limited to a 15 amp circuit. 15 amps, if we look at Ohm's law, comes out to about 1700 watts or so. And this is why it's kind of important to not run a heater on your RV circuits and to instead try to run a good heavy 12 gauge or larger extension cord in through a slide or somewhere else and run your heaters off of that. A good size heater typically will be easily 1300 watts. That's pretty much your whole circuit right there in a 15 amp circuit. You start running other stuff and you're going to be pushing your circuit to its trip point. You don't want to do that often. That can cause it to overload prematurely, or even possibly in a worst case scenario, not overload and burn something down.
Do you guys have bug problems? Really hasn't been too bad here. During the summer though, a massive fly issue. In the fall, we get these stink bugs. I hate them. I hate them both.
So now we're gonna move under the counter. We're gonna cut into this PEX hot water line, and we're gonna add a T for the dishwasher and a shutoff for the hot water. For some reason, probably just to save costs, but they don't really put any shutoffs anywhere in the RVs. They just expect you to use your main water spigot. When installing PEX, it's really important to press it on properly.
You gotta cut this very perfectly square. You don't want to cut this crooked at all. So if you cut it crooked, these push connect fittings won't work. They don't usually put very many shutoff fittings in RVs. It's kind of unfortunate. because it means you gotta run all the way outside to the hose if you need to shut your water off for an emergency. So I added in this one. I had another one on the cold line at some point. When you push these in too, you have to make sure you seat them in all the way. So go in a little bit more, even more. You'll feel kind of like 3 different steps there. Never push it too hard. Yeah, see, like that, I can't have that. And that's why they actually make a tool to cut these. But you can use a razor knife if you're careful. Almost lost a finger.
Razor knife that you 3D printed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this PEX line back in here quick and hook up this sink again, and then we're going to move on back to the dishwasher. So this is the actual dryer line right here. Looking up. Definitely not an appropriate wrench, but it's gonna work for us. Alright, I'm gonna run out and turn water on. Just feel right here, make sure you don't feel any wetness or nothing coming. I shut this blue main valve off and also the silver T for the dishwasher. That way I can turn them on one at a time and monitor to make sure that each individual fitting isn't leaking. Otherwise, if they're all on and the top one starts leaking, it can run down the line, make it hard to tell which one's actually the issue. You want to make sure that you got a nice open workspace, so clear this out of the way. And then we'll slowly open up our valves. I have no idea how much to put in here.